Hi, I'm Riley Seamster, and I'm a Senior Program Manager with Google Earth Outreach. Today, we're going to learn how to use Google Earth to create maps and stories about our world. I'll show you how you can create a project on any subject of your choosing, drawing place marks, lines, and shapes on the globe, and then adding your own content like videos, text, hyperlinks, and more and organize your project into a narrative flow. Then I'll explain how you can share your project and collaborate with others on it. One of the things I'm really excited to show you how to do today is presentation mode, where you can fly your viewers from one place to the next, following the narrative of your project, immersing them in the journey through Google Earth's imagery and the custom content you provide. So if you'd like to follow along with me in Google Earth, you can click the Go to Google Earth link just below this video to the right in order to launch Google Earth and sign in with your Google account. If you'd rather relax, or if you miss anything, don't worry, this video will be available to watch again on demand. Also, there's a link below to a tutorial on our website with written step-by-step instructions. If you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask them in the Q&A just below this video. I'll actually be there looking for your questions, and I'm excited to answer them. So let's go ahead and get started. Google Earth, if you're not familiar with it, is an incredibly detailed 3D globe that allows you to explore the entire planet. I should point out that there are multiple versions of Google Earth. There's a web version, a mobile version, as well as Google Earth Pro for desktop, which is a software that you download and install on your computer. Today, we're just focusing on the web version of Google Earth and its creation tools that launched about a year ago that allow you to make collaborative maps and stories on the web. Creation tools allow you to draw points, lines, and shapes anywhere on the globe. And you can attach your own custom content, your words, your photos, your videos to each place and choose the perfect view for that place using Google's massive catalog of 3D satellite and street view imagery. There's a built-in presentation option so that you can take your audience on a guided tour from place to place. And with Google Earth Web, you can control who gets to view or edit your maps and who you collaborate with, similar to Google Docs. That means you can keep your map private, you can share it just with your colleagues, or you can make it public so anyone on the web can see it. Before we dive into creating our own projects, let's take a quick look at how nonprofits and educators have been using creation tools since they launched about a year ago. The first example I want to share with you is Restore the Mississippi River Delta Coalition's project, where they created a tour to help viewers see the history of man-made projects on the Mississippi River and what we can do to restore some of those natural processes of the river while continuing to support thriving riverfront communities. So let's actually switch over to Google Earth for a live demo of this project. So this is their Google Earth project, and what you can see on the right is a panel of the custom content they've provided. On the left is Google Earth and all of the places they've drawn on the map. I'm going to go ahead and click Next and fly you along so you can see that this project allows viewers to take a virtual flight along the Mississippi River, starting from the headwaters and ending up in the Delta. The next project I want to show to you is a project from Encyclopedia Virginia, which is a project of Virginia Humanities. And they created this story, which illustrates the harrowing journey that Henry Box Brown, an enslaved person in Virginia, took to freedom. And again, you can see here that I'm flying from place to place using satellite imagery, 3D, and street view. And the content that they provided to tell that story is here on the right in the panel. Finally, I want to share one last project with you. This is Media for Math, an educational nonprofit, and they created this project to show how surface area can be used to create sustainable architecture. This project uses a combination of Google Earth imagery and Street View imagery in order to explore these buildings and as an opportunity for students to dive deeper into the concepts of geometry. So I hope that gives you a sense of the possibilities that creation tools can give and gets you a bit excited about what you'll be able to make after this training today. So next, let's look at what we're going to cover in the training today. I'm going to take you step by step, starting with how we create a project and add places to it, then how you add photos, videos, and more to those places. Then we'll show how to add slides and present your project. And finally, we'll talk about how you can share your project with others. For my project today, I'm going to be mapping some important places in the life of well-known conservationist Jane Goodall, with photos provided courtesy of our friends at the Jane Goodall Institute. If you'd like to follow along, you might want to have some places in mind that you want to map, and if possible, some text, photos, or videos about those places that you want to add to your project. You're going to want to make sure you have another tab on your web browser open. In that other tab, you'll go to earth.google.com/web and sign in with your Google account. After you've done that, you'll want to look for the projects icon, which will be in the left-hand navigation bar, and you'll click it to get started. So let's go ahead and head over to Google Earth. So just to repeat those steps that I just told you about, you'll want to go to Google Earth by typing in earth.google.com/web, check that you're signed in, and you can do that by clicking on the menu at the upper left-hand corner here, and just confirm that you're signed in. If you're not, you can click here to sign in. And after you've done that, you're going to want to find the projects icon in the left-hand nav bar. It's the place mark, looks like a place mark on a map, and you'll want to click it. Now, if you've ever created projects in Google Earth before, you may see a list of projects here. If you've never created a project before, though, you'll see a panel that just has the option to open a project or create a project. So what you're going to want to do, if you see that panel, if you've never used this before, is you're going to click the Create button and choose Create Project in Google Drive. If you see a screen more like mine, where it has a list of projects here, you're going to click New Project and Create Project in Google Drive. Once you've done that, a new blank Earth project will be created, and you'll see it here. It'll say Untitled Project. What we're going to start doing is we're going to just give it a title and description. So to title it, you just click the edit pencil next to Untitled Project, and you can type in whatever you want here. And I've actually prepared a bit of text that I'm going to paste in here, but you can write some sample text for right now. So there's my description. That'll help me remember what the project is about next time I come to it. So you'll notice here as I'm typing in a title and description that my edits are auto-saved in Google Drive. And so that's a nice thing to look for, and a little bit of a comfort to know that whatever you're adding to your project gets auto-saved along the way. Now what I want to do is I want to start by adding my first place to my project. I'm going to start with place marks. There are actually two different ways you can add a place mark to mark a place in your project. And the first is by using this little place mark tool here in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. So the first place I'm going to add in my story is I'm going to add a place mark for Jane's childhood. And I know she grew up in Bournemouth, England. So I'm going to try to find Bournemouth here. So really you can just find a place by zooming and panning around on Google Earth where you want to add a place. So I'm going to add a place right here, and then you click the place mark tool to activate it, and then you click on the globe wherever you want your place mark to go. So I'm going to put my place mark right here. Before I add it to my project, I'll want to give it a title. So this could be whatever you want it to be. Confirm that I'm adding it to the right project, my Jane Goodall story, and then I'll click Save. And now you'll see that Jane's childhood place appear here in my project list. So that's how you add a place, by just activating the place mark tool and clicking on the map. But there is another way to add a place, and that's by searching for it. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this new feature button, choose Search to add place. And then I'm going to search for Nairobi National Museum. And click on the search results. It's going to fly me to that place. And you'll notice a little card comes up on the right-hand corner about that place. If I know this is the place I want to add, I can just click Add to Project. So I click that button. I get a similar screen as before. It's taking the place title straight from Google's search result. But if I want, I'm going to change this to Nairobi National Museum, because I think the name changed since Jane Goodall worked there. And I'm going to click Add to Project. So now I've got my second project in my place. I've added a place by simply clicking on the map to add a place mark. I've added a place through search. Now I'm going to show you a third way of adding a place, which is through Street View. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find Gombe National Park in Tanzania, which is where Jane Goodall did her seminal research. I'm going to fly into Gombe National Park. This time, instead of just adding this place to my project, I want to add a Street View pano. So the Jane Goodall Institute actually worked to collect Street View within the park. And I want to see if there's a pano from that I can add to my project. So to turn on the Street View layer, go down to the bottom right-hand corner, and you click this little pegman, the Street View pegman. That activates the Street View layer, and now you can see all of the lines and dots here. This is where Street View is available. And you can kind of zoom in and look around and find a place that you might want to add to your project. So I'm going to hope to get lucky here with a good pano. I'm going to click on this line, and it jumps me inside Street View where I can actually just look around and look to see if I can find an image that I want to add. And I just so happen to know that at this particular spot in the Street View imagery, they did happen to find some chimpanzees in the forest. So I'm a little lucky here. I have some knowledge about what's in that imagery. And so I'm going to make sure my Street View pano is looking in the direction that I want my viewer to see. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see this little place mark icon here. If you hover over it, it says capture this view. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to add this place to my project. Now click save. So now you see I have those 3 places in my project. And at this point, let's just kind of review what we've added. I'm going to click the present button to go on a guided tour of all the places I've added so far. So again, it starts out with Jane's childhood. And then if I click the next button, I'm going to fly to the Nairobi National Museum. And then finally, I'm going to fly to the third last place, which is inside Gombe National Park. And it's that Street View panorama that I added. So that looks fantastic. But our next step is to actually add our own content for each of these places so that as you fly from place to place, you have a panel that shows some photos or videos or my own words about that place to the right-hand side. So to add content to my first place, I'm going to hover over that place in the projects list here at the left, Jane's childhood. And you'll see when you hover over a place, you get this little pencil here. So I'm going to click the pencil to open that place up for editing. And you'll see a new panel that we haven't seen yet. This is a property editor panel for this place here, Jane's childhood. Okay, so now the first thing we can do is add photos and videos to our places by clicking the camera option at the top of the property editor panel. You can add photos from Google Drive, Google Photos, your computer, or the web, and videos from YouTube. So I actually already have some images of Bournemouth, so I'm going to go ahead and select that image file I want to add from my computer and upload it. You can add up to 8 photos and videos here. So, I've added my first one, and you'll see after I add one, I have the option to add another. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one. And that creates a nice carousel of photos and videos that shows up when you present your project that viewers can look through. So I really like having this option. Next, you'll see going down, you can edit the title again. You can add a bit of text. So I've prepared a little bit of words here, and you can, format that text. You could bold words if you wanted to, italicize, hyperlink here. So let's take a little look at what this looks like so far. To preview what your content will look like in your presentation mode, you just click Preview Presentation at the top of the panel. And now you can see your content here. Accidentally added the same photo, but you can ignore that. It's a live demo. So you click the back button to get back to the property editor, and I'm going to continue down. So that you just saw was a small info box. I'm actually going to change it to large and preview again. So this is kind of nice because you can kind of go back and forth and make these little changes, see if you like how it looks. Scrolling down, the other thing that I can edit the place marks. So I could change it to use a different symbol. I could make it a different color. I could change the size of the place mark. And actually, if you click on this menu here, there's even more options. There are actually 400 different symbols that you can choose from here. Or you can upload your own custom icons for places. So the images that you draw, symbols that you create yourself that you want to use as your place marks. And then the last thing I want to show is you can get the perfect view of your place. So I can use the satellite and 3D imagery and kind of zoom and pan until I get a view that I really like. And then I can click this blue button, capture this view, and that saves this exact view of the place so that when you're flying your viewers there, they fly into the exact view that you chose. So I'm going to click preview one more time. And so now you'll see this is what viewers will see when I'm in presentation mode. So backing back out of Jane's childhood, I'm going to edit my next place, Nairobi National Museum. Again, hover over that place in the projects panel and click edit. Now, this place is kind of interesting. If I preview it, I don't know if you remember, but we added this from search. And when you add a place from search, it'll actually take the little knowledge card that Google has about the place with a photo, a little bit of description, and it'll use that. So you're welcome to use that. But if you'd like to add your own content instead, which is what I'm going to do, instead of using the information provided by Google, you just click replace. And that lets you add your own photos and your own text. So again, clicking on the camera icon, I'm going to select a photo of Jane Goodall and Professor Leakey at the museum when she worked there. And I'm going to add a little bit of text again that I already prepared. And just remove that formatting. I'm going to change this from small to large box just so that it looks the same as my other one. I'm not going to edit the place mark, but I am going to change the view here. I'll capture this view, and then I'm just going to preview it to make sure it looks nice. One thing I didn't show you before is when your viewer clicks on the image, it'll actually go full screen, which is kind of nice. And then let's go to the last place. I'm going to back out here and fly into Gombe National Park. Now, for Gombe National Park, instead of adding an image, I'm actually going to add a video. So clicking here, I'm going to select the YouTube option, and you can search through YouTube for videos. I'm looking for a video from the Jane Goodall Institute about termite fishing, which is one of the practices that Jane Goodall observed when she was studying chimpanzees in Gombe National Park. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of text here. And I'm going to change this again from a small info box to a large one so it matches all the others. And then I'm going to click preview. And you'll see now for the video content, if your viewer clicks on it, they'll get a full screen video that they can play. So that's nice. So now I've added content to all of my places. I'm going to click present again and fly through the guided tour of these places now with all of that extra information that I provided. So you'll see again, we start in Jane's childhood in England, but now I've got that nice carousel here in my 3D view. Then I click next and fly to Nairobi National Museum with the photo provided by the Jane Goodall Institute. And then finally, I'm going to fly into the street view image in Gombe National Park. There we go. And I have my video here that I can watch. So that looks fantastic. One thing I want to add to it, though, is a little bit of an introduction, because we're flying straight to Jane's Goodall, maybe without a lot of context for my viewers. And one feature that I haven't shown you how to add yet is full screen slides. So I'm going to click on New Feature here, this little drop down, and select Full Screen Slide. And this basically just allows me to add a slide into my project. I'm going to use this slide to introduce the project. So I'm going to put a little title here, and then I'm going to add a tagline that I want to show up on the full screen slide. And let's preview what this might look like. So right now it's just the title and the tagline with a color background. But instead of using a color as the background, you can add a photo. So I'm going to do that. And now with the photo added, let's see what that looks like. So now I've got just kind of a nice introductory slide for my project. And you can use this to add section dividers to your project. You could use it for an ending message or call to action, or maybe a way to give credits to people who contributed to your project. And then backing out here, another thing that I haven't shown you yet is that any of these places or slides that you add to your project, you can rearrange the order, and this will rearrange the narrative order that they show up when you do your presentation mode. So now that I've rearranged this, let's take one final look. I'm going to hit present. So now I'm starting out with that nice introductory slide, clicking next, flying into childhood, and then I can fly to all of my other places. So I think now we're ready to share our project. So let's talk a little bit about sharing. All the projects you create in Google Earth are private by default, so only you can see them if you're logged into your Google account. In order to share your projects with others, you need to click on the Share button, which is up at the top of the Projects panel, represented by this little person and a plus button. And so if I click on that, it'll open up this sharing dialog that you've probably seen before if you use Google Drive or Google Docs. And so you can type in someone's Google account here and share it with different individuals if you want them to view or collaborate on your map with you. But you can also, down here, change this link from restricted to anyone with a link can view my project. And this is where you can copy this link and you can share it on social media. You could link to this project from your website and allow anyone on the web to be able to come and view your project. Okay, so there's just a few more things that I wanted to share with you. So we just looked at the share button. Next, I want to point out the reload button here. So if you're collaborating on your project with other colleagues, let's say, and they make a few changes, if you click the reload project button, you'll kind of refresh the project to be able to see any new changes that have happened. So that's useful for collaboration. Next, this little trash can lets you delete projects if you want to get rid of your project completely. And then if you click on the menu here, there's two things I want to point out. The first is copy project. So that lets you make a copy of your project. And this could be useful if you want to create like a project template for your staff or your students so that they can kind of follow a certain model for their own stories or maps. And then secondly, there's export as KML files. So this lets you export a KML copy of your content that you could open in Google Earth Pro or other GIS software. Then I also want to show you how you can add shapes and lines to your project. We were working mainly with placemarks today, but another type of place that you can add is shapes and lines. So let's go in and find Gombe National Park again. Okay, so first, let's actually add a line. I'm going to go down here, if you remember the placemark tool, and click on line and shape. And once I've activated that, then I can select a starting point for my line. So let's say here, and I'm going to draw the trip that you take from Kigoma, a nearby city, to go to Gombe National Park. And so if I've drawn that path and I'm happy with it, in order to save this line to my project, I just press enter, and then I can give that a name. And I can save it to my project. One thing I wanted to point out that I didn't before, when we're adding all the places before, I simply click save to add them very quickly. But if you want to go ahead and start adding your custom content to this place right away, you can click edit place. And that both saves the place to your project, but also takes you straight to the property editor for that place. So you can start adding your description or your title. In this case, I wanted to show you that for lines, you can change the color of the line. You can change the width of the line. I'm not going to add any photos or videos today, but I could do that if I wanted to. And then, of course, you can also set your 3D view by getting a good view that you like and clicking capture this view. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to back out. And then next, I want to show you how you would add a shape. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer on Gombe National Park here. And let's find something that I might want to add to my project. Let's say I wanted to mark off one of these beaches right here. So I'm going to zoom in, maybe mark off, yeah, this area right here, this cleared beach. So I'm going to click on the line and shape tool again. I'll select my starting point, similar to how I was drawing the line. And this time I'm just going to kind of highlight this area right here, clicking on the map to kind of draw my nodes of my shape. And then when I want to close the shape, I just need to click on the first point of the shape, and that closes it and creates a polygon that I can add to my places. Again, I could just click save if I don't want to edit it right now. But if I want to edit my shape, I can click edit place. That saves it to the project, so I can and lets me add photos and videos, description if I want to. For shapes, you can change the outline color and width, and you can also change the color that's the fill of the shape. So I might want to change it to yellow. You can change its opacity as well. So those are all things that you can play with when you add a shape to your project. So hopefully that gives you a few more tips on how to get started. The last thing I want to show you before I end the training is, what happens if you created something really cool today and you close your web browser and then you forget how to get back to it. So let's make sure you understand how you get back to your projects once you create them. So let's say you've closed this out. Remember to go back to Google Earth at earth.google.com/web. So get back into Google Earth, make sure you're signed in, and then go to your projects, which again is that little place mark on a map. And then you should see here a list of any projects you opened recently, whether you created them or whether someone else created them and shared them with you and you were just looking at them. And I can click on that Jane Goodall story and I can keep on editing it. So that brings us to the end of our training. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you now feel ready and empowered to start creating your own maps and stories in Google Earth. We can't wait to see what you're going to make.